What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Tuesday Track Talk podcast, episode number 82 for the old pit crew. I am your gas man, Cam,
I'm your Jackman Kel.
I'm your tire changer Cam.
and we've got another jam-packed episode here for you on the docket. Again, multiple disciplines that we're going to discuss. We had boots on the ground. In the presence of a social media superstar for one of our pit crew members. And yeah, so we got a lot to talk about. We got some sprint cars, some Cup Series, and the Joe Shear Classic where we had boots on the ground for two of our pit crew members. So as we always do, how you boys doing?
Reeling a little bit from the sunburn.
Yep.
That event, I feel like marks the start of getting cooked one good time for the year.
Oh, I'm gonna get cooked multiple times here in the
That's
first
always
12 months.
that's always my first good one. Like, oh, dude, I was so close. It's that 4 inches right from my lower thigh down around my knee. That's the only spot that's really bad. So I just got lobstered like this much on the top of my knees.
Yep.
So, but no, good. Yeah, I was not expecting to be getting thousands of views on the Midwest Tours page with my Redneck Sunday, but hey, when you find a camera, you find a camera, man. You just roll with it.
Hey, the camera finds you sometimes, so
Oh yeah, absolutely it does. So that was kind of funny. He took it, and you know those guys run around with cameras all the time. Like you never know if you're gonna end up with something. And you sent that to the group chat. I'm like, no shot. Yep, sure enough, there it was.
Yep.
But yeah, that was funny. That was cool.
And for those that don't know, go check out ASA Midwest Tours, basically race recap short.
Yep.
That they had.
Yep. We also posted it on our social medias. Yeah, about 15 seconds in, you're gonna find a familiar face.
Right after Mark Martin gets done talking. Bam.
Like he keeps talking and I'm right there. And I'm like, wow, kind of epic, actually.
Yep. So
But yeah, that was funny.
I went from getting absolutely covered in dirt to getting blasted by the sun.
Yeah, you made the old Saturday night trip too.
Yeah. I put on just over 500 miles.
Jeez. Hey,
2 nights.
It's a lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, we're here. We're ready to talk a little racing, I suppose, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get going here. I still got some got a little lift in before this, and I still got some pre-work. I got a little bit itchy face going, so I'm rocked up and ready to go. So if I'm itching my face, it's just a little pre-workout rubbing off. But yeah, let's hop right in here. We've touched on it briefly, but we're gonna dive into it a little bit here. And the old high roller series, high limit, Thursday night at Texas Motor Speedway. And I guess let's just start here. Obviously, with the Cup Series being in Texas, we had a fair share of Cup Series guys down there trying their hand at a wing sprint in the likes of Young Money, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Ricky Stenhouse, and Ty Gibbs. And so some big names in that. And I guess, I don't know, where do you guys want to start? If you guys want to talk about how we feel getting into that, if you want to touch a little bit on the race, I'll just kick it to you guys where you want to start with I guess that kind of race and some of the names that were in it.
Yeah, I mean, from a race standpoint, jumping into the race itself, I mean, Brent Marks was just lights out.
Oh,
he was going to be tough to beat.
Yep.
Pretty much handled the show. I think looking how that race played out, really the only chance guys were going to have a crack at him was going to be if we got a caution and the field got regrouped. Ultimately, like he just had command of the show from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, overall had a good weekend. Obviously, not spoil everybody, won on Thursday, leading every lap, and then he finished seventh on Saturday night as well.
Yep.
So another top 10 finish there. Um, no, I mean, I don't remember this track from last year, but really, really good track. I felt
Yep.
like the track work was really good. Guys could pick which lane, but yeah, Brent Marks was just whole nother zip code when it came down to it. Bell only raced on Thursday night, and he had issues with his car. Took it to the garage and was just done for the night. Gibbs keeps the streak alive. He made it into the A main again, but
He's 2 for 2 on making A
two for
mains.
two on A mains. But he's also 2 for 2 for finishing in the bottom half of the field in the A main.
2 for 2 on making A mains and going 2 laps down in that feature.
Yeah.
Something he's just starting to dabble, getting his feet wet doing so. Obviously, a few growing pains there in terms of learning a sprint car.
And part of that's probably just trying to figure out the track. Like, obviously, depending on the heat that he runs, the track is still pretty tacky. Could get the grip figured out, but then once you get to the A main, it starts to slick off a little bit, and you got to start searching for lines. That's where you're gonna get beat.
Yeah, it's where inexperience shows very quickly.
Yep.
And
So,
old buddy, I think he should focus on getting a cup win before he tries to dabble his talents in another series. Well, no, I mean he's coming up on the most races a Joe Gibbs driver, the longest streak or most
yep.
participated
Most.
races
Yep.
to get a win. And so, buddy, before we try winning a wing sprint, let's get that ship turned around on the old 54 team. But I mean, it is what it is. And I guess to that point, I was going to ask two questions to you guys. How do you feel about these Cup Series guys, trying their hand at a wing sprint race? And then two, say you get obviously Larson, I don't know, maybe it differs driver by driver. But some of these NASCAR guys comes over, like, what do you consider a successful night for, a Cup Series guy coming over to a wing sprint race like this?
Kellen, I'm gonna let you go first because I've got a secondary point on that afterwards.
Yeah, I think when you think about a successful night for those guys, I think it depends on their background. For Ty Gibbs making that feature,
So was that it? Was
making
that
the laps, yeah, I
yeah?
think is a successful night for him. When you look at it, I think 10th for Larson,
That's a
probably not a
rough night.
successful a night for him. Uh, Bell, you could say Gremlins that it's racing, unfortunately. But I think for those guys, I think it depends on the background. Where, let's be honest, when Kyle Larson unloads at that 57, there's one thing and one thing only on their mind, and that's cashing a check that night. So I think it depends on the scenario. I think it depends on the background. Where the guys that have a heavy wing sprint background, I think it's just gonna racers race and racers want to win. So I think it just Gibbs, I think you could consider successful in making that race, but like I said, I really truly think it comes down to their background and experience in those cars in particular.
Um, I second pretty much everything that you said, and the secondary point that I had is that I love having these quote unquote doubleheader weekends type of scenario where you get another series in with the Cup Series
Yes.
and it brings in that crossover. Um, I saw a video here today actually. Joey Logano was over at Texas chatting with Rico Abreu.
Rico said he would make them fit.
But look at the crossover. You get guys that come over and they get to talk to Rico. Obviously, Larson talks to Sweet probably every day, but you get those guys that come over and chat and see what's going on and learn a little bit about it. And it gives, I think, fans opportunity to not only take in a NASCAR race, but also an opportunity to catch a wing sprint dirt race at the same grounds.
Yep.
Where okay, I know four guys that are going to be there. I know Bell, Gibbs, Stenhouse, and Larson. I know four Cup guys that are going to be there. That'll
Yep.
draw in however many people because I want to see them guys race.
Yeah, and I think from a fan crossover standpoint, I don't think there's a way that the exposure can hurt either side.
Nope.
You might have a fan that bumps into one of these guys, and all of a sudden they're going, you know what? I'm gonna go to the race on Saturday night. I'm staying the weekend. Maybe I can make it work that I can beep over to the cup race, right? Like I think the exposure for I think it helps a little more in the exposure standpoint of the guys on the wing sprint side.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
I
But
think their exposure helps a ton, but also going back the other way as well. I just don't see a scenario that can hurt either side.
now the only thing, and maybe you guys can correct me, but I hope Texas did its job as far as promoting both races, obviously. But I
Yep.
also hope that NASCAR chimed in a little bit and also said, hey, if you're in town, here's this wing sprint, here's a couple of our guys that are going over for this
Yeah.
race.
Yep.
Check them out. And then during the Sunday's broadcast, hey, these guys went and ran on Thursday and Saturday night. Here's how they did. Here's what the series is about.
And it even then, if you forecast it a little bit, you can see if you have another doubleheader weekend coming up.
Yep.
We're not saying it's going to happen, but hey, just conveniently high limits in town again. You might get to see Larson in a sprint car. You might get to see Bell in a sprint car. Yeah, you just never know what that crossover can do to generate new fans on either side.
Now, the other thing that could happen too is that NASCAR could, when I went to the Iowa race last year, the World Outlaws, I believe, were in Knoxville,
Yep.
just up the road. So you had guys, I mean, a couple guys went there just to be there, but Larson was there to race.
Yep.
So I think any kind of doubleheader with NASCAR, obviously, I think it's not a secret that NASCAR is probably the superior racing series.
Yep.
But if you could pair up a weekend like they did a couple years ago with NASCAR and IndyCar at the road course of Indianapolis, or getting a wing sprint kind of a doubleheader going, I think that helps just both aspects. And like you were saying, it's not bad by any means. So,
Yep. For sure.
And I think last point on that, I think good news for us is it is really going to help going forward with one of the owners and founders of the High Limit Series being a Cup Series guy and as involved as he is. And
Yep.
like you said, I think the crossover is going to be. I think it'll help both sides because again, it's going to take somebody who's going to show up or want to make it. I think it's just going to encourage somebody to make a weekend out of it. Hey, we can go to Texas. We can do a 3-day weekend out of it. We can go to the truck race on Friday night. We can go to the sprint car race on Saturday night, and then we can see the Cup Series. If you sprinkle it in, I feel like it'll, as long as you're not racing on Sunday afternoon at 2:30, which they never are. I think it's just gonna, like you said, it'll be somebody who's a huge wing sprint car guy is gonna see Kyle Larson and be like, you know what? Meet him in the pits. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the race on Sunday and see how he does in the Cup Series.
yep.
And vice versa. Cup Series guys that are diehard NASCAR fans are going to say, "Oh, I'm a huge Ty Gibbs fan." Well, shoot, he's racing something I don't get to really ever see him race. I might as well watch it and just see how he does. So, um, no, I think it is. I think it's good overall. And like you said, it for those Cup Series guys, some of them get a piece of humble pie when they step into that, and um, yeah, it's cool to see. And like you said, I think moving forward, I think obviously Kyle Larson in that series and being in the position he's in, as much as he loves to race, would have an inkling that he's going to try to continue to do stuff like that moving forward when they set the schedule. So,
Oh, yeah.
um,
One more point I want to make. Obviously, they raced on Saturday. We were talking about Ty Gibbs being 2 for 2 on futures. Well, he's 2 for 3 because he didn't make it out of the B main on Saturday. But
Oh,
Stenhouse
yeah.
did. So Stenhouse made his way into the A main on Saturday. Ricky Aber was the winner of that one after starting on the front row with Larson. Rico came in and said that this is probably the shortest podium in wing sprint history, with Larson, Sweet, and Abreu being on the podium.
I mean, good for him for playing into it. I can appreciate that.
So, but obviously Rico is he's I think he's kind of starting to figure out the season long battle a little bit.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
to a hard charging Larson there at the end. So
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts on the old high limit series at Texas?
no.
Nope.
Well, then let's stay right in the great state of Texas and let's just go a hop, skip, and a jump up the road to Texas Motor Speedway and talk about some NASCAR Cup Series and just the debacle that we had go down on Sunday afternoon. So I know you guys were out and about at the track, but I'll just give it to you guys if you guys saw any highlights or results. What initial thoughts did you guys have from the Cup Series?
I did get a chance to watch the extended highlights yesterday. So it's just a 15-minute video with some extended highlights. From what I saw, first off, track's rough, which is good because that means it puts it all on the drivers. But that also means that second groove was nasty to a couple guys.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah,
know if you
Kyle
guys
Busch.
saw some. I don't know if you guys saw that the old arrow was actually coming into play there, and just towards the end there. Um, I don't know if you saw the old 71 machine, Michael McDowell, and the wreck he had towards the end there once he gave up the
Yep.
lead. It was just somebody got ahead of him using that second groove and in the air, and all of a sudden it was just a hard right hander right into the wall.
Honestly, it looked a lot like how he kind of tank swapped it when he had his big wreck there many moons ago.
Yeah, for real.
It took a left and he took an immediate right.
Yep. Side note. So really quick, as we're doing this, if we're not really paying attention at certain points, we're just glancing around. Casserole Full Racing Night in America gets kicked off tonight in qualifying as we speak. The Ty Torg number 9 jumps to the top of the board. So Hoffman is currently quickest. They've qualified about 12 or 13 cars so far. But there is an absolute hell of a field of cars at this one. So we'll be kind of keeping an eye on that, updating that periodically as we go, maybe even making a few interactive race picks once we get to feature time. But okay, sorry for that brief little PSA. Back to the Cup Series.
No, but I think that second group too, the amount of, I mean, I don't know if you want to say single car spins, but I mean, stock up on the air until he biffed it. Josh Berry
Oh,
just
Yep.
from the lead.
Yeah. Dang it, anyhow.
it yeah, it is. And then we talk about him not being able to just I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna take for the guy to um string a complete weekend together. Kyle Busch. It
Literally the commentator's curse. They were talking about him, and no joke, within 4 seconds had that thing backed into the fence.
I mean, the camera was
and
right on him too. So I mean, you saw it kick around right away, and you just hear
Wow.
Mike Joy just goes, "Oh no!"
I don't know if you guys saw that clip on Door Bumper Clear of Rowdy
Oh,
Nation and
oh,
but Rowdy
keep it,
Nation is dying for a win. And
keep
when they
PG.
and when Kyle Busch gets a win, I think we all know what Rowdy Nation is going to be doing. But
Might be a baby boom.
yeah,
Oh
but
my God, that was literally a rowdy episode of Door Bumper Clear.
yeah,
Good Lord.
they're desperate for a win, and I mean at this point,
Rightfully
I don't.
so.
Yeah, I mean obviously
Rightfully
the
so.
winless streak last year broken, but yeah, I don't know what it's going to take for that team. It just is. It's never we saw a glimpse of it earlier in the year, being able, I forget what track it was, just to string together a complete weekend, qualifying top 10, running top 10. But it's like, we can get on
There's more.
this topic too, but it just is like, it's always something. Like,
Yep.
and sometimes it's like, just if the commentators don't say your name and you don't win the race, like, just complete all the laps and run well. Like, sometimes that's a win, but it's like, he's always getting his name mentioned.
Yep.
He's running well up front, speeding on pit road. He's got a good car. He's running around the top 10. Issue on pit road. It running top 5, spins by himself. It's just calamity of getting caught up in somebody else's junk.
Yep.
Which he did later on. And it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know what that guy's got to do to get turned around and going in the right direction. But, and if we want to stay on that topic, thank God he's a car owner. But if he wasn't a car owner, that 6 car at RFK, that driver's got serious issues.
It was kind
Yeah.
of a rough
I
weekend
know you
for
guys weren't.
RFK,
I
'cause
weren't. I know you guys weren't watching, but they put up a stat on the TV that was like, they put it up there, and it was like, I messaged you guys. I'm like, dude, it looked horrendous. Like, 0 top 10s, 0 laps led through however many races, 32nd in Cup Series points, and I don't know
He,
how many DNFs he's got this year, but it is. I mean,
he was a guy I kind of had my eye on to be a multiple race winner.
bounce back year.
Yeah.
we're still on that slide.
Yeah.
And
Hocevar finds
his
himself in a little dust up, by the way.
He got caught up in a wreck.
he got caught up in a wreck, but
Who did I
sticking on
hear?
RFK, the old Texas homeboy Chris Buescher, the wall reached out and grabbed him when he had a good car.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just feel like it's wild times out there right now. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't have on my bingo card the entire year putting Carson Hocevar qualifying on the pole.
Right.
And leading laps.
Yeah. Yeah.
McDowell was leading laps there at the end too. I mean, he had, but it,
Yeah. She's
yeah,
a
it
wild
was
world out there.
Chastain could have stole one too.
Yep.
just and that was just a workman-like performance from him throughout the day, just picking them off, just a steady Eddie performance of just nothing too flashy for once. He didn't find himself in the broadcast for the wrong reasons. Just picked him off, and to that point too, Joey Logano too, ultimately your race winner. Just a solid day coming from deep in the field.
Yeah.
And I think I bookmarked it. This is a wild stat, but that was, I gotta just show you guys this because this will bring back deja vu. That was
RTJ, surely we were top 3 in qualifying.
AAA has been a primary sponsor for teams in 180 races since 2005, and that was their first win. And look at some of these.
Wow.
No shit.
Oh, yeah. What?
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Is it glaring?
I was gonna say, just name them off.
Yeah. Talk to us. Give us some drivers.
Especially for those that are listening.
Yeah.
It's got to be a Mark Martin 6 AAA.
Yep.
Yep.
A Carl Edwards 99 AAA, Roush Racing. I don't even know who this was in the car tomorrow, a 77.
Probably Clawful.
There we go.
No, that's a Sam Hornish Jr.
Yep.
Oh, sure enough.
Yep. That's the old Mark Martin.
That's the Mark Martin.
Yep. Speak of him, we'll talk about him in a minute.
Yep.
And the old Edwards.
That's the old Edwards. Okay, so you got
Hey.
3.
Yep. Talk to us about some stats.
Yeah, no, that's a AAA. Logano's first AAA. They've been in sponsoring cars in NASCAR since 2005, 180 races. And that was their first time ever being in victory lane.
Wow. Those are some hammers they sponsored too, especially Mark Martin and Edwards.
I don't know if I sent you guys this too, but this is your free time. Take a watch on that. But yeah, that was Logano ultimately as a workman like Dane. We don't have to touch on it too deep because I don't know that I fully understand, but the old Team Penske boys, and I didn't realize old Chipper Jones. You guys see what's going on there?
There's some interaction going on.
Yeah, old Chipper Jones from
The MLB world.
Yeah, he's a huge NASCAR fan, which I didn't realize. And when Cindric got his win, he quote tweeted Logano's post race interview because remember Joey MF'd Cindric for a stage, and then Joey
Yep.
said selfishly he wanted to win, and Chipper Jones retweeted this whole thing and tagged Cindric and said, whatever, know who you got on your team. Your teammate just MF'd you and said he's selfish in an interview, and then Cindric is another quote tweeting back and forth pictures of each other in drivers meetings and whatever. So anyways, Chipper Jones and Team Penske going at it, needless to say. But I was just gonna talk, who else was I gonna say? I was gonna talk about one other point on the race.
One of the things that I noticed here while you're thinking about it, none of the drivers, there was only one driver in the top 10 that started in the top 10 of that race.
Yeah.
So you talk about almost a flip of the field.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
I think Larson biffed it on one of the last restarts. What else was going on?
but no, from watching that race, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good race. Like I said, rough tracks, especially, Atlanta before that got repaved. It put on some damn good racing. I think we're hitting that point with Texas. I even just saw a clip from Dale Jr. that said we're starting to enter that peak with Texas right now in the races that it's putting out. And he said, don't touch the damn track. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Let it get rough. Let it get bumpy. Let's change some ride heights. Let's see if that changes the handling in the cars. Let's let these guys have to work a little bit instead of just looking at data and running around wide open half the race.
It was kind of wild too. The guys that could run that second lane, and when you could risk it for the biscuit going down the backstretch, a little bit of the momentum and run that you could build down the backstretch had some of them boys making their cars a couple lanes wide there. I don't know if you saw some of them guys, John Hunter Nemechek on Christopher Bell, and then I want to say it was Gregson on somebody that had that thing way down on. It might have been Logano.
Oh,
Had that thing way down on the apron.
McDowell pushed Logano down to the apron.
Maybe it was him. Somebody had that thing down on the white line, blocking, and so it was. Track was racy, and like you said, I like that second groove. Tracks like that are fun. where guys that are going to run it
Yep.
run the risk of, you know, it'll bite you. But if you can make it work, you can drive it right to the front. So, any other final thoughts on Texas?
Nope.
Good race. Might come up in another conversation here in a little bit.
Yep.
Good call. Last point too. I don't know. I saw a tweet that said the 9 team, whoever built that car, should be fired because did you guys see the Hendrick qualifying efforts? It
No.
was like 4, 8, and 11, and then Chase Elliott like 29th.
Byron second. Elliott was 29th. Let's see here. Where are the other ones? Bowman was 11th. I'm missing
Larson
one.
was like 5th.
Where's my last one? Oh yeah, Larson was 4th.
2,
So,
4,
yeah.
11, and 29. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Not even the same zip code.
No. Rolling off the stack. Well, yeah, that was it for Texas. Again, good race. Track, like we said, is in a good spot and potentially going to come up in a conversation here later in the episode. But without further ado, let's stay on the asphalt and let's head to local where we had um, boots on the ground and a social media star was born at Madison International Speedway. And let's talk about the Joe Shear Classic 200. Obviously, a big race down in Madison for the ASA Midwest Tour and a stout field. Um, so expensive day two for the boys, but I'll just kick it to you guys and boots on the ground. You guys can wherever you guys want to start with it.
I think let's touch on the truck series first. And before we even get to the truck series, let's talk about the first 5 minutes of practice.
Oh,
And the funny part is I missed it. We were standing there. We were standing right in the middle of 1 and 2, and Swan blew up, and he blew up in a big way.
yep.
Like that thing exploded.
Oh, bluey.
Yeah, and we were standing right coming into 1. He blew up like probably, I don't know, crossing the finish line somewhere in there. And by the time that thing was up in smoke, it was right in front of us.
Like it was like Blaney blowing up at Homestead, the thick white smoke. Like,
yeah, that motor left the chat in a hurry. He ended up finding another ride. I should say finding another ride. His pit neighbor, Russ Blakely, ended up loaning him his truck for running for points. So that was a cool deal to see him. He actually ended up winning his heat race.
yep.
So that was kind of cool to see. It was, a little bit of a help me, help you type of thing where he can do a little learning about his truck, and Swan can also keep on his points.
Championship points fight.
Championship points battle. So, no, I mean, when we look at the truck race, pretty solid. I think we went over halfway before we got our first caution, I believe.
Yep.
And I think the first one was that the single truck spin in 1 and 2.
Yep.
So we kind of just had a single truck event, and then unfortunately James Swan finds himself going into 1. It was him and Jeff Holtz kind of got together.
Yep.
And he just nosed Blakely's truck into the wall, which just the
You
way
never want to do that with somebody else's truck.
right. That's always the most painful part of the whole thing is it's not your own equipment, unfortunately. But yeah, that Blakely's kind of program there. They're a little bit of struggle. That truck kind of got tore up at the Dells too. So unfortunate for that. I mean, is that racing? Yes. When you put your truck out there, can that happen? Yes. It's just even a little more painful when it's not your own equipment. You hate to do that in someone else's stuff, and whether you could have helped it or not, it's a different scenario. It just happened so quick. It was hard to know. But the outside lane it was there.
Yep.
Temporarily. But ultimately, if you were out there for more than 3 or 4 laps, you were going to try to have to find your way to the bottom. With those trucks being very momentum based, I would say, on a big
Yep.
half mile, they were going to have to find their way to the bottom. But no, I mean, outside of there was like, I think those were the only 2 cautions, weren't they?
Yep, those were the only 2 cautions that we had for that race.
So yeah, just good, tight, big track racing.
Yep.
Um,
And man, tough. Madison's been tough for Aaron Moyer. Dude just can't catch a break.
yeah, yep, yeah,
Leading the majority, good chunk of that race. Eugene Gregorich comes in. They had a really good battle too.
absolutely good, clean battle.
Yep.
Um, yeah, good big track race, honestly.
Yep.
Um, everyone kind of minded their P's and Q's, and the boys played nice, and it was all about getting to the bottom and being able to carry momentum. Basically, your corner speed was going to be where you're going to make hay. But no, good race. Again, we've said it time and time again. They put on good racing product, and that was another great example.
Example of it. Yep.
Yeah. Do you have the finishing order up by chance?
I do actually.
Cool.
Uh,
Want to run through that?
I'll rattle off top 10 here real quick. So Eugene Gregorich is a runner in that one. Aaron Moyer, second. Chester Race was third, who actually gave away his third place trophy as well. Grant Griesbach, your points leader, fourth. Clay Curtis, fifth. Brandon Reichenberger, sixth. Colin Effner, seventh. Robbie Rux was eighth. Derek Meyer, your fast qualifier, was ninth. And Tyler Noble finished 10th. Robbie Rux went from 16 to 8 in that one.
Yep. Yeah, he also was a heat race winner.
Yes, he was.
So good day for him as well in terms of running for, I believe he's running for rookie points, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So good day for him. Good notebook for a lot of these guys to come back again in end of July.
Yep.
With the Midwest Tour again, kind of same stop for Howie Lettle. So guys got some notebooks on already formulating a game plan in terms of what they're going to come back with.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was the Midwest Truck Series.
Jumping into the.
I was gonna say old Swan went after blowing up, and he hops in his old neighbor's truck. But he hopped in that, and he's like, "Shit, this might even be better than my own truck." After
Yeah.
pulling off that heat win, but
Yep.
no, overall, solid race, and kept it cleaner than the debacle we're about to get into. But we can get into let's get into the big boys and um, the classic, the Joe Shear Classic 200. And where do you guys want to start?
Well, Mark Martin said before the race that the Midwest has some of the best short track racing around, especially on the weekly side. Now, given this wasn't a weekly show, but I think we showed what kind of racing can get put on in the Midwest with this one.
He went as far as saying Wisconsin's the best racing state in the country.
Yep. Now, Briscoe also said that it's a very underrated state for racing as well. So there's something to that.
Yep.
But we previewed it in our race preview earlier in the week that Madison, for how fast it is and the kind of intensity that it takes to run that race, you usually always end up breaking something or junking something. And we got both of that in this one. And it
Yeah,
started early.
it didn't take long, and we were like
3-4 laps in.
And we had guys with issues already. Storm had motor issues right out of the gate.
D'Angelo's had issues.
I never picked up D'Angelo's listening, but he was like in and out, and they were working on that car, and he would go in for a lap or two, and he'd come out, and he'd make a couple laps and go in. So I never picked up what the issue was. I don't know
I
if you
think he was overheating because I saw him kind of working the grill a little bit.
So he was potentially having motor issues as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so you just kind of had guys kind of coming and going with motor issues. Then we kind of got strung out. We got 50 in or so. And then was that the first comp caution? Or did we
Yep.
have a yeah, so we got to our first comp caution. It's like 151 to go or something, 149 to go, right in that neighborhood. And there really was no takers in terms of strategy wise, because this was a 6 tire show. Everyone just kind of rode around, and if they made adjustments, it was very small adjustments. I know you had a couple of guys like Fredrickson didn't change tires; they just swapped sides.
Yep.
Where you had guys kind of playing that strategy a little bit too. Um, and it kind of felt like you could feel the intensity ratchet up already with 150 to go. And then it ratcheted up from there, and then we had a string of cautions, and then we had a run to the end. It's kind of how it felt.
Yep. And it all started with Paulie Schaefer and Freddie, the aforementioned Freddie, getting together. Never really saw it, but I believe Schaefer got loose, or maybe got tagged in the front a little bit coming into 3. And coming into 3 like that, there's only one destination, and that's up into the wall, and he took Freddie with him.
That is a long, helpless slide. It is a long ways up to that concrete wall. And you can see the picture. Schaefer's car was a foot off the ground.
Yep.
And Fredrickson had nowhere to go. Like,
Just nosed it right in.
just an absolute helpless feeling. Talk about guys who have had some bad luck. Schaefer's one this year.
And Freddie, especially on the national program too.
They've both kind of had some tough stretches where Schaefer, he ran the national tour race earlier in the year, and he got involved in a wreck. And they put that car back together to be able to come run this one. So that you hope the guy can get the monkey off of his back, and be able to just finish a race, unfortunately. And then from there, it just kind of motor issues kind of just plagued the middle of the race to a certain degree.
Yep. Sauter spun off a restart due to a blown motor.
Yeah.
Valento bowed out. Bryce Miller bowed out. Billy Moan bowed out as well. So I mean, the motors were hurting.
Yep.
But
Yeah, and then we got to the end of the race, and
Farrell as well.
Farrell's they're still kind of troubleshooting that whole deal.
Early in the year for that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, yeah.
But that's in that this race does that.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a brutal first race, a half-mile high banked speedy track like that puts all the equipment to the test. Really.
Right off the rip.
Yep, and it was warm, but it was cool enough that there was a lot of grip.
Yep.
So it just
And the outside line had a little bit of grip too.
Yeah, the sticky stuff, and we'll talk on it here in a minute, played a role in how that race ended up finishing.
The maybe sticky stuff. We don't know what was up there, but there was something to it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, I mean, that was kind of, and then you had Morrissey and Fenhouse get together.
That was a big turning point there.
Those guys were running up front. I kind of missed it, and then all of a sudden, they both were in the back. Fenhouse got turned on the front stretch.
It was the classic, like Fenhouse was coming up. Morrissey must have came down and just did that collision, and that set Fenhouse spinning.
Yep. So they both got sent to the tail. Then from there, the other big turning point in that race was Nason and Majeski getting together off of 4.
Which it was Majeski's race. He got into the lead pretty early, pretty much after that first pit cycle, got into the lead, and he controlled the race from there. Nason gained a little bit. Johnson gained a little bit.
Nason was there.
Yep.
It was going to be a tough pass. He kept peeking inside. He could get inside, but he could never really get door to door.
Yep.
Majeski could just roll that outside, but I think this is my interpretation of what happened is when they had touched, it cut the left rear of the 91. Because he kind of saved it, and then all of a sudden that car just snapped.
And it was one of those, like, he must have caught that bottom corner of that right front,
Yep.
that bottom end of the wheel well, and that's what cut it. And like you said, it was Majeski caught initially when it started going flat, and then when it went completely flat,
it snapped and he
Yep.
backed into the fence. So that kind of opened the door. Unfortunately, it sent Nason to the rear.
Yep. Which it was. I mean, you want to talk minute of space if there was space.
Because there was not even a mark on the fender.
No.
Like it was, the contact was very, very, very minute.
Live, you weren't going to be able to tell, and it was even hard on replay.
We were watching the big board, and it was so hard to tell if they touched or not.
Yep, and listening to the tower, I mean, you got to make the live call. You can't make a replay call.
Yep. That opened the door. It was going to be the 91's race to lose. He had the car to beat. They put tires on with, I think it was like 110 to go. That's kind of when everyone put tires on, I believe.
Either 110 or in that 60 to go.
Whatever, those were the two stops. Well, Majeski grabbed the lead from Vandergeest, who actually had a fairly solid day.
Yep.
He led a lot of laps. Majeski grabbed the lead, and then obviously the contact, he backed into the fence. He was done. Nason got sent to the rear, and then that opened the door for kind of your regular Midwest Tour guys when you talk about Sommers, Johnson, Bilderback.
Bilderback, yep. He was one of those guys that in that caution afterwards, or in that stretch run afterwards, they ended up having another caution with 21 to go.
Yep.
I think personally he did not need that caution. He had the momentum going, he had the long run speed going, and as soon as that caution flew, it cooled the tires down enough that.
Yep. Yeah, he was clicking them off. He was catching those lead too. He was on a mission. Fast time. He had a rocket of a race car.
Second event in a row. Rolls off the trailer with a rocket ship.
Yep.
2 for 2 on fast times up here.
Yep.
And then from there they get a run to the end, and with how many was it to go? 11?
If that.
I think it was 11 to go, because the debate was if it was going to be
because Sommers had the lead on the single file restart, and that was 10 to go.
Yep. And then from there,
I think he passed him with like 5 or 7, something like that. Somewhere.
It was 5 to go. He technically was scored as the leader with 4 to go, coming off of 4.
Yep.
And he did it on the outside,
which was amazing for that race.
And listen to the Rios, they knew Sommers was tight. That car kind of built tight on the long run. I mean, even they knew that car was going to build tight like 5-6 laps in, so they were just going to have to kind of be there when that opportunity presented itself. But honestly, what a classic finish to a Midwest Tour race, or a Wisconsin Midwest super late model race. Side by side, a guy inside, a guy outside. They gave each other room. They didn't rough each other up. They just raced for a check.
And I motioned to you, like it was the classic, like Johnson would enter high, hoping to build that run to cut underneath to go low. And he kept setting that up. And Sommers must have been defending it. And he just rolled that outside. He caught that run out of 2, and he got up to that wheel, that rear wheel, and that was his move.
Yep. So, hell of a finish.
Yep.
Absolute hell of a finish.
Another just classic Joe Shear race.
Yep. Absolutely.
Never disappoints.
No. But good, absolute hell of a finish. Just kind of mentioned Johnson ends up winning the show. Sommers was 3rd, and who was on your podium?
Nope, sorry. I've got the lineup here. Sommers was 2nd.
2nd. Yeah.
Justin Meindijk was 3rd.
Yep.
Michael Bildback 4th. Austin Nason 5th. Jacob Gady, just a quiet day for him, 6th. Vandergeest was 7th. Dalton Zier was 8th. Riley Stenjum 9th. And Brett Edmonds, who kind of fought some from some gremlins between practice and qualifying, was 10th. Kind of stuck around.
Yep. So No, good race. It was a blast.
Yep. Beautiful day too.
Yeah. 65 degrees, the sun is shining, there's a little breeze.
Yep.
You couldn't ask for much more at the racetrack. Um, Before we move ahead, we got the Mark Martin autograph session in. That was cool. He was hanging out after, and that's when we got our photos that you've seen from the thumbnail. We kind of got a moment to take a picture of him. How cool is that to have him up here?
Oh, always a blast.
Yeah.
And quick story. Standing, we had gone through, gotten autographs. I was waiting for my grandfather to go through line as well. Who comes strolling up? None other than Rich Bickle.
Yep.
And we go, all right, if there's anybody that can cut in line.
It's him.
Yep.
And
What does he do? He just goes underneath the rope, sits next to him. Quick story.
And they weren't rushing people through, but they wanted to get everyone through.
Yep.
And the guy standing there goes, well, yeah, committee sat down. And Bickle turns around and goes, you can blame this all on me. But yeah, that was cool to see. That was awesome. Just you never know when he'll be up here again, so that was cool to get to shake the guy's hand. Let's be honest, you know.
100%.
So NASCAR Hall of Famer, so that's a pretty cool deal.
Guy could still kick probably all of our asses. And
Dude hasn't aged a minute.
And he's got the best motorhome out of anybody you're gonna see.
Oh my god, dude. That motorhome was decked to the nines. That was intense. But yeah, hasn't hardly aged him. It feels like we said that when we walked away. Dude hasn't aged a minute.
No.
And I mean, talk about two legends of the sport there, Bickle and Mark Martin. But hopefully it's something we can continue. You know, if he is that deep rooted in Wisconsin racing, he made the trip up here for the last state park race last year, didn't he?
Yep.
And then he came up from Dixieland a handful of years ago, and
so 2 years in a row he's been up here, supporting Wisconsin short track racing. Like I said, a legend of the sport. And anytime you can get him at an event, obviously that speaks to the level of the event that in the racing that is going to be put on. So,
guy that says that thanks to racing in Wisconsin helped his NASCAR career be what it was.
Yep.
Speaks volumes to what we got, and hopefully it's something we can continue. He finds his way back to, you know, it'd be cool if he continues to come back next year or, you know, later this year for a different event, whatever he can fit in his schedule. But yeah, the Joe Shear Classic, I feel like it's always a race. I know it's always cliche, but I feel like it's one of those races that's like you got to be there at the end.
Yep.
Like it's a fine line of, you know, it's a tough race, half mile. It's hard on your equipment. Not only that, but then you got the best of the best in the field, and it's a fine line of saving your stuff and avoiding the wrecks and making sure you got the HP under the hood to get you to the end. So, yeah, it's always an interesting event. So, any other final thoughts on the Shear Classic?
No, kicked off our season with a bang.
Yep.
I mean, the Dells was big. This was big. One more kind of final thought. Again, another massive crowd.
Yes.
We're 2 for 2 on having massive crowds for our races up here this year.
I'll even add to that with me going to Mississippi Thunder on Saturday night. Massive crowd there as well.
Yep. So, hey, when the seats are full, that's a great thing for everyone.
Yep.
Cool. Well, let's keep rocking and rolling here. Let's get to the next section here. And let's go to some news from on top of the pit box here from around the racing world. And Cal, I'll kick it off to you and let you hit the first couple here.
Yeah, so kind of the first two go hand in hand together. Kind of a surprise. Tony Erie Jr., Fury kind of announced that he was leaving, but they didn't want to spoil where he was headed. So Fury announced that he's headed to another adventure. And then very shortly after, GMS Race Cars announces they're entering the super late model chassis world. And as the aforementioned, they hired Tony Erie Jr. So staying kind of in that late model chassis world, but he heads over to GMS to help them with their adventure. Headed to the truck series a little bit. Patrick Emmerling, he'll drive the 75 for Henderson Racing this month. Races to be announced coming shortly. So,
Two, I guess we'll call them local racing, but can be national as well. Big, probably one of the better bills that have been passed in the recent years. The state of Iowa passed and signed a bill that it protects racetracks from being liable for lawsuits involving noise, light, sound, and pollution that could be a nuance to the neighborhood. Essentially, it's saying the racetrack was here first. You came in after the racetrack was built. You can't complain about anything that happens from said racetrack.
we need 49 other states to follow up on that.
Yep, exactly.
Let's
So
keep these babies open.
Iowa is protecting its racetracks and protecting the history that they've got as well. So kudos to that. Can back that 100%.
Absolutely.
Sticking on the short track side of things, Elko Speedway announced that it is under new ownership. Previous owner Tom Ryan has sold the racetrack and the fairgrounds or the grounds to Mega Corporation, who states they will make Elko great again and that the racetrack will thrive in the years to come. So again, always great to hear that when there's a sale of a racetrack, it sticks around, just like we had with Slinger earlier this year, keeping it around for future races.
Absolutely.
And then I got a couple here. I just want to I can confirm that at the end. The All-Star Race changes continue. Heats will be 75 laps, up from the scheduled 60, with a caution lap around lap 30. So we continue to mess around with the All-Star Race. People are getting more and more outspoken about what we're doing if we're trying to get too cute. But it is another change. Swapping to a different discipline, different car, and different series. Kyle Bronson, the Killer Bee in the Orange 40, he announced this past week that he is hopping off of all national tour series, and then he will have a select schedule for the rest of the year. So again, I think just another situation where he's good on a touring series, but he can run top 10 consistently, but to be up there with the best of the best, I don't know. I think this will be a good change for him. Give him a shot to show up and be really competitive. And then he followed it up and put out his tour, and he's clearly going to be very active and at a lot of the big shows. So Kyle Bronson hops off National Tour Series, and I'm pulling up here the TNT broadcast team for NASCAR, and TNT's first race will be Atlanta on June 28th. So Atlanta on June 28th.
I'll double check for you, but read off their broadcast.
We've got just a stellar lineup here in the booth. We've got Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, and Adam Alexander. Pit reporters, we got Marty Snyder, Danielle Trotta, Alan Cavanna. Pre and post race show, we got Shannon Spake, Jamie McMurray, and none other than I ask Parker Clearman a question every single day. And then we got the NASCAR in-season challenge, altcast booth on True TV. None other than the Professor Larry Mack and Jeff Burton. And then the BR racing correspondent is Mamba Smith. So TNT putting together a pretty damn good lineup there.
Yep.
And it feels like days of the old NBC.
So funny you say that. So confirmed, it is Atlanta on June 28th. It's after the 5 races that Prime has.
Yep.
Forgot we got that experiment this year too.
So Junior essentially is going to be 10 races. He'll have the Prime and the TNT races that leads up to NBC's portion of it later in the year.
Correct.
And those TNT races of note: Atlanta, Chicago Street Race, Sonoma, Dover, and the Indianapolis, the Brickyard 400
Yep.
of note. So
I think the other big news, and we can kind of jump into this here momentarily.
Yeah, let's just hop into it right now.
Let's just get into this one.
yeah,
Breaking news as of May 6th, NASCAR officially announces the championship rotation. Homestead and Phoenix confirmed, TBD on other tracks.
interesting thing that I noted of that, it's other tracks. Didn't necessarily
Correct.
say it was just a track,
Yup.
which opened up a whole can of worms, and I think that's where this discussion is going to lead. Two questions. One, what do we think about the rotation? I know we touched on it a little bit. And then two, what other tracks could be that race?
So I think one thing I think about is from a fan availability side, it has to be in a big enough location to accommodate that large population that will be there,
Sure.
or in an area within reason to make travel accommodations.
So essentially a metropolitan area.
To some degree, yep. Oh man, I just want to know how they're going to evaluate these other tracks.
Sure.
Are we looking at the whole schedule? Are we eliminating super speedways?
It was confirmed super speedways and road courses will not be a part of that.
Okay. All
that
right.
was
So,
confirmed as well.
You guys are going to hate me. I got three that come to mind, two or three that come to mind.
Okay.
Give me a Bristol Saturday night race.
Okay.
Give me a Martinsville under the lights.
All right.
Richmond?
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet.
Those are the three that I look at those three and I go, let's put the championship 4 in Bristol on a Saturday night for the Bass Pro race and just let's gloves off. Let's have at her.
I think you could
those are the
chime
three
in.
that
I
come
don't
to
know.
mind.
I don't know if it might be a little bit of recency bias, but I think you could chime in and throw potential Texas in there.
Yep, that was another one that I heard. I'm gonna throw three more at you here that I think you can make a case for.
Yep.
Kansas.
Yep.
It's in a decent area. It's not gonna be cold.
Yep.
Darlington.
Yep.
And might as well go in your own backyard, Charlotte.
I was gonna say Charlotte was kind of one.
Especially with the conversation that's been had about not wanting to go to the Roval there. Talk about bringing the oval fall race back with a bang.
Championship race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, weather's probably going to have a little bit to do with it. Martinsville was also brought up in the discussion, but now you worry about capacity.
Yep.
Of the place. Obviously, Bristol's a good choice for that. Maybe a little bit iffy with weather when it comes to November.
Yep.
But you can say the same thing for a Darlington and for a Charlotte. You know, if you're talking about metropolitan, you know, that probably eliminates Martinsville and Darlington. Charlotte jumps up that list a little bit. The one that I've always been a backer of was Kansas.
Yep. So my question becomes, and I didn't really fully dive into the details of this part of it, but like this rotation, is this going to be one track? It's the championship race will rotate every year.
Yes.
Got it.
So another thing, I heard this,
brother.
I heard this from Jeff Gluck today, and I want to pose this to you guys because I thought this was an interesting take. Do we? It'll be a rotation still, but do we have a championship round where it's 3 tracks and then every year those 3 tracks rotate
Got it.
as
Yep.
the championship round? Thoughts?
Round of 4. It's 3 races in the round of 4. Don't love it. I don't hate it. I think the one race spectacle heightens everything.
Yep.
I just don't want it to be a case where somebody's got it locked up going into the last race. That's my fear. Could that happen? Yes. Could it also not happen at all? Absolutely.
Yep.
There's my pro and con to that.
Sure.
I get a little bit leery having somebody having it wrapped up.
Sure. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I get that point. I guess I heard it on the radio, but I thought I'd throw it to you guys. So I know we talked about the rotation part of it. I'm excited. I think it not modernizes it, because especially with ball and stick and ball sports doing the same thing, where they jump from championship to championship location. Obviously, a
Yep.
lot of people out at Homestead back. I feel like we're getting a lot of there's no law. You're not losing in this scenario.
I would agree.
I think so too, and I think you're going to get a couple markets too. Like for us, we just had the NFL draft in Green Bay, and one of the smallest market in the NFL, and there's question marks whether Green Bay could do it, and then not only that, but who would show up. And Green Bay did a bang up job hosting, and not only that, but the people showed up, and so
Yep.
I think it's going to give new markets another shot. I don't think NASCAR will do anything super. They'll stick their neck out there and do something super. I think they'll be relatively smart and conservative with their choices, but um, yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be good for the sport overall.
Yep.
Ooh,
One
Yep.
last final thought on that is, what if they didn't? What if they didn't tell them where the championship race is going to be until like 4 weeks ahead of time?
that's tough, because you got
Because,
hotels to figure out and just
but
that's
what
tough.
about? I know, but then you don't have the whole, teams building the notebook in at Phoenix this year
Sure.
I don't know.
That's tough. I think
logistics
it'd
too
be
difficult.
exciting. It's just going to be tough to do.
Well, NASCAR
Yep.
could book the hotels and everything. NASCAR could book it and just not tell all the teams.
Yeah, there's no way that doesn't get out though.
Okay.
Right.
All
You're
right.
not telling me that somebody's not going to have that intel. Come on.
You're
Yeah,
telling me that the hotels aren't going to say something?
true. Well, you gotta make them sign an NDA.
Jesus
We got
Christ.
enough legal issues with NASCAR as it is.
Yeah, no.
All right, let's hop into the Wheelman of the Week. We got a couple nominees here. We already
Tear
talked a
my
little
heart
bit,
out.
talked about it a little bit pre record button. Wheelman of the Week here. I'll take the first one here. Brent Marks leads every lap of his win at High Limit at Texas Motor Speedway. So back to back from last year.
I'll grab the next two. Brandon Overton, he wins Circle City with Lucas Oil. He led every lap of that feature. It's his first win in 2025, his 19th with the series. Going down to Cherokee down south, Joseph Joyner puts a perfect day together. Fastest in hot laps, qualifying, won his heat race, and then led all 40 laps of the Cherokee Chief Super Late Model Series, 10 grand to win feature. So kind of a little mini series like the Alive for Five at the Dells that Cherokee's putting on, but he collects a $10,000 payday.
I'll take the final two, and I feel like this is where we're going to be heading with this conversation. First one, I think this is a low hanging fruit for me. The thrill for Mooresville. Nick Hoffman gets his first World Outlaws win on the year at the Dairyland Showdown. Takes the lead about halfway through the race and checks out. Not even a threat from Bobby P. on that one. And then finally, Casey Johnson makes the winning pass with about 5 to go from the outside to win the Joe Shear Classic. His second win in this race for a cool 15 grand.
All right, who goes first? Let's let Cam go first. He's the dark horse, I think.
Yes, he's going to be the deciding factor on this.
Yeah, and I'll break the deciding factor here. I'm going with the throw from Mooresville, Nick Hoffman.
Whoa!
Absolutely stacked and loaded field there. At Mississippi Thunder, you had a fair amount of Lucas Oil boys that were rained out, and ended up showing up to that show on Saturday night. A cool $75,000, and I'm giving it to Nick Hoffman.
Well,
yeah,
you know where I'm going with it.
I'm your Casey Johnson vote, but the 9 rules the day for the Wheelman of the Week. Damn it, I'm trying to get our Midwest guys to get one. Son of a biscuit. I'm trying, I promise, guys. All right, let's go to some
He's a close two.
It was
again,
a very close one. Yep.
Another loaded field as well.
And especially with getting that win from passing from the outside and just setting it up the way you did.
Yep.
Let's hop into some race previews here. I will jump right in here. And I'll take the first discipline. We're going to cover some dirt late models here. First up here, live right now, we got LaSalle for a cool 20 grand on a Tuesday night. Spoon River Wednesday for another 20, and then Lincoln Thursday, May 8th for another 20. So 60K up for grabs over the next 3 nights. And again, some stacked fields here as we're dropping the green flag in heat races. So catch all that action live on Flow. And then not only that, but we got some sort of late models back in action here at Viking Speedway on Saturday, May 10th, and Granite City Motor Park on Sunday, May 11th.
You also got Lucas Oil racing this weekend, but hopping into the sprint car side of things, Warlaw Sprint Cars, their Lincoln Speedway race got postponed to Wednesday, May 7th. And then they'll be at Williams Grove on Friday and Saturday, May 9th and 10th. You also got High Limit in action this week as well. They'll be racing on Wednesday for attempt number 2 at running their first midweek show at 81 Speedway. They'll also be at Lakeside on May 9th, the Friday, and then Tri-City on May 10th on Saturday. And then IR Sprint Cars will be at Sycamore Speedway on May 10th. Should be a doubleheader, I believe, with the Badger Midgets as well at Sycamore.
Yep. And then jumping to the asphalt side of things, Cars Tour West gets going again Saturday, May 10th at All American Speedway. Arca Menards heads to Kansas along with the Truck Series and the Cup Series. A note with that, Xfinity is off until May 24th. So we won't touch too much on the rest of the schedule just because that is out on social media already. So if you haven't seen or are looking for the rest of what we're following, you can go ahead and grab those graphics as we go from there. So now we're to the point of making some race picks.
Touch on updated points here real quick. Cam, your gap kind of steadied out a little bit. You're sitting at 765. I'm jumped back up to second place at 655. And Kellen, you're sitting at 609. Reviewing last week's picks, I did combine the points. Cam actually got the least combined amount of points with his 2 picks at 101. Kellen, you were second at 110, and I gained the most points at 157. So, based off of that, I did the race picks off the combined scores, which means Cam gets to pick first this week.
In the 45, Tyler Reddick.
That was quick.
That was really quick.
I'm not going to reach too far. Pains me to do this. Chris Buescher.
Buescher. Toyota's historically pretty good here, but I also feel like this has turned into a little bit of a wild card race as far as not having a consistent winner. I think a Chevy is going to win this race. And I think that Chevy is going to be William Byron.
Good pick. Good pick.
So that's what we got for race picks.
There you have it.
Any other final thoughts?
Nope.
Give me another good weekend of racing coming up, but you got some midweek racing as well. So be sure to tune in as you can.
Yeah. Again, another loaded episode here for you. Giving you about almost an hour and a half of beautiful content. So wherever you listen, we appreciate it. And then again, as always, we appreciate the comments, the interactions we have with you guys on socials. So again, don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe, give us some feedback. Get in our comments. We'll have a healthy debate with you. And we love talking all things racing. So um, without further ado, we're burning it down and we're ripping the cushion here on a midweek Castrol Flow Night Racing in America. So we will see you all next week for another episode of the Tuesday Track Talk.